President Trump speaking about his controversial executive order, one that bars 134 million people from 7 Muslim-majority countries from coming to the United States.
It's not a Muslim ban, but we were totally prepared. It's working out very nicely. You see it at the airports. You see it all over. It's working out very nicely. And we're going to have a very, very strict ban, and we're going to have extreme vetting, which we should have had in this country for many years.
This comes as protesters gather outside of New York's JFK airport right now after word spread that at least 2 Iraqis were detained there despite holding valid U.S. visas. A lawsuit has been filed on their behalf. One of the men was released and addressed the media.
I have a special immigration visa in my passport, me and my family, because I work with the U.S. government. I support the U.S. government from the other side of the wall. But when I came here, they said no, and they treat me as I break the rules or do something wrong. I surprised, really.
So this video was taken shortly after President Trump and his campaign issued a travel ban against multiple countries outside of the United States. And this leads me to my piece of propaganda that I'm going to be issuing today, as this picture that states, "Let me get this straight. You're afraid of refugees coming to America, killing you, and taking your property." And this piece of propaganda is based off a double standard of a current issue that's going on in America today. Now, this piece of propaganda, who is the author and what is the author's purpose? Based off research, there is not an exact author to this piece of propaganda. It was a created meme on Facebook shared by somebody. But the author's purpose seems to be that there is an issue of a double standard because the idea of Europeans coming to America unannounced and starting a country is fine, but now that people from other countries want to continue that idea, it is all of a sudden bad and will be harmful for current Americans. Next is, who is the target audience? The target audience is the Republican Party and certain groups of white America, but it's definitely the Republican Party because of A, the video that you just watched, and President Trump's constant talks about building the wall. And this video was also based off of October 18th, 2017, when President Trump put the travel ban to effect, which nations of Chad, Iran, Libya, Syria, Venezuela, Yemen, Somalia, and North Korea will be more or less not allowed to enter the United States. So clearly, this piece of propaganda targets anybody, especially President Trump, and anybody that's a Republican that considers themselves agreeing with the travel ban. Now, which techniques are used to attract and hold attention? Now, clearly, based off this piece of propaganda, is visual techniques are used to attract and hold attention in this example. The black and white picture of an older looking Native American chief is used to grab your attention because that's not something that you see. But then once your attention is grabbed, then the boldcase letters that are all in uppercase that especially use the first sentence, "Let me get this straight," is definitely an attention grabber for the audience. Now, how does this propaganda affect strong emotions? Well, this propaganda activates strong emotions because it mentions death and a group of people getting something taken from them, which both involve strong emotion. This responds to audience needs because this is a current issue in society today. And if you are on the side of allowing refugees into America, this almost gives you a sign of relief that someone agrees with you. This certainly attacks the Republican Party because of the travel ban they issued in October of 2017. Now, what lifestyles, values, and points of view are presented? Well, the views of the Democratic Party are presented in this propaganda because allowing refugees into America was a part of the Democratic Party's campaign in the 2016 election. Also, because they voted heavily against the travel ban that President Trump put into place in October of 2017. This also points to the value of the double standard. And what attitudes or actions is the propaganda aiming to affect? Now, this propaganda is giving a negative and a positive attitude. The negative is towards people that are against letting people into our country, because this is the way our country was started, and you would be going against what America is about by not letting them into this country. Basically, almost making you feel bad type of scenario, or just making you feel like a bad person almost. But this also is giving off a positive attitude, because it's trying to influence people to let refugees back into America, and almost be letting you know that you're doing the right thing, or this is like an easy sign of propaganda about kind of getting the mental aspect towards people. Now, how might different people interpret different people interpret this message differently? Now, it is clear that this use of propaganda is interpreted differently for liberals and conservatives. Liberals will look at this and say, yes, this is exactly the reason to let refugees into America, and you are hateful and live by a double standard by not allowing refugees into this country. Now, conservatives will look at this use of propaganda and say that whoever created this is heavily reaching on this example, because at this time in history, Americans need people to enter the country so we can begin to colonize. But now that we almost debatably have too many people in our country, we don't need or want more, giving two different sides to the argument. And lastly, what might be unintended consequences of this propaganda? Now, there could be many considered to be, but the main ones of focus are that unintended consequences could be towards the Native American people, because they could be offended by this. They might not want to be used as an example, or they might not want to be a part of an agenda that they might not even agree on, because based off of this meme, it almost says that they didn't want people coming in the first place. So that's one. And two, an unintentional consequence could be creating more hate or creating more arguments to this, instead of actually fixing the issue. And that will always be a continued issue in propaganda released to the media today.